The Miami Dolphins have missed out on Jair Alexander. And I'm hearing it's because of Jalen Ramsey's situation. We're going to talk about that and some comparisons of Tua Tagovailoa and Drew Brees and how that ruffled some people's feathers. What is up, Finn fans? Hope you guys are having a fantastic Thursday. We're getting closer and closer, crawling our way to training camp. We are about a month away, give or take. Yeah, about a month. I think the 22nd, the vets report. So Sunday will be an exact month from the start of training camp. So if you haven't figured it out or known, that Jair Alexander signed with the Baltimore Ravens. He signed a 1-year, $4 million contract that has incentives to get him to $6 million. Now, it was said that he went to Baltimore because of Lamar. They played together in college, and he took less money to go to Baltimore. That is what the rumor is. But Barry Jackson came out and said, per source, Dolphins ended up calling on Jair Alexander, but didn't feel comfortable making a competitive offer yet until it can trade Ramsey. I don't know why I read it like that. Alexander didn't want to wait on anything after getting an opportunity with Baltimore. He agreed to the terms today, 1 year, $4 million. So essentially, the Dolphins called up Jair's agent and was like, hey, guess what? We would love for you to come to Miami. We're just dealing with the Ramsey situation. What's your sitch? And then he's like, well, listen, Baltimore wants me to go there. I'm going to go there. I'm not waiting. And that's what happened. Now, if I scroll down a little bit, you see here, Travis asked, what is taking so long to trade Ramsey? They want decent compensation without being asked to pay a lot of his salary. And I will get into that because Barry also replied to somebody saying this: though they have offered at least one cornerback, Rasul Douglas, I'm confused as to why they've told others why they want to trade Ramsey first. I'm sure they have a reason, but unsure what it is. So again, they give Rasul Douglas a contract. He's like, that's not enough. He goes to Washington. They offer him a contract. He goes, that's not enough. And now he's waiting in purgatory. What Barry's saying is, why did they offer Rasul Douglas a contract, but they saying to Jair Alexander, we're waiting on it to get rid of Ramsey first, which makes no sense at all to me. Right. So there's that situation. Then per Pro Football Talk, they said, when will Dolphins trade Jalen Ramsey? Only the Rams have been connected to Ramsey. Most recently, coach Sean McVay said some obstacles remain to a deal being done. When the Dolphins make it clear that the relationship with Ramsey is over, they need a second team in the mix to clear real leverage. The Dolphins could decide to wait, and if they wait last into training camp, things could become more interesting. It's unlikely, given the circumstances, the Dolphins would want Ramsey in training camp. If Ramsey goes along with that, they can't keep him away if he wants to work. The Dolphins would keep waiting for the right deal. And what if the deal isn't done before the regular season? Will the Dolphins pay Ramsey to stay home until a trade is materialized? The situation could end up being parallels to the Deshaun Watson situation from 2021. He was nearly traded to the Dolphins before week 1. Then as the trade deadline approached, it almost happened again. When it didn't, the Texans paid Watson for the rest of the season before trading him. Given what the Texans got for the Browns from the Watson in 2020, it was money well spent. The Dolphins won't be looking at significant haul after the season. It will cost them more than twice the $10 million the Texans paid Watson not to play for the 4 years. The fact that a trade hasn't happened proves that it's not going smoothly. Ultimately, the Dolphins may have to wait for someone with another team to get injured before a true market for Ramsey's contract will materialize. And they may have to pay Ramsey 1 week at a time until it happens. And that entail is the flippin' problem. Now, the Dolphins probably want to get the most out of the situation and want to get a high compensation pick, and they don't want to have to give up cap space, because when the Dolphins trade Ramsey, they go from about 13 million to about 20 million in cap space. And I guess their thought process is we can use that cap space and that money to get corners. But it's not happening yet. And teams are starting, like the Ravens were a name that was talked about with Jalen Ramsey, and obviously Jair Alexander goes there. And then you have Rasul Douglas out there. Does he end up signing somewhere else? And then that's a team that's off the market. There's thoughts of the Pittsburgh Steelers being an option now that Jair Alexander went to Baltimore. So there's a lot of things up in the air, but this is becoming a volatile situation that it's not getting done yet. And it is now costing Miami with the potential to add quality corners. Now, I know, and I'll say this again, you can go back and watch the video where I talk about, I want to bring in Jair Alexander? I know he doesn't stay healthy. I know we'll probably get him for 7 games, 7 days. But it's better than what we have right now. We don't have anything. And it seems like the mantra with the defense is get pressure on the opposing quarterbacks and have these corners, do the best they can back there. And hopefully we can get to the quarterback before, these receivers break routes deep, because Ethan Bonner, Storm, Dux, Cam Smith, and there's another one. Hold on. We just signed him. It's going to bother me. I gotta look it up. But our corner situation isn't great. It isn't great at all. And I don't like that they're kind of sitting back and waiting. It's kind of actually Artie Burns is the name I was thinking of. Artie Burns. But we have BJ Adams, Ethan Bonner, Artie Burns, Ryan Cooper Jr., Storm Duck, Isaiah Johnson, Cater Kohu, Jason Marshall Jr., Ethan Robinson, Kendall Sheffield, Cam Smith. Do any of those names really bring fear to your eyes? Now, I'm hearing Isaiah Johnson's having a good camp, and I've heard keep an eye out for Isaiah Johnson. I'm hearing the rookie Jason Marshall Jr. And Kendall Sheffield are names to look out for. But again, we got Artie Burns here, who's a 10-year vet. So, we're sitting here hoping and praying something happens, but it seems like Miami's waiting for Jalen Ramsey to be traded. And if that's the case, I swear, if Greer comes out and says you're more worried about the secondary than we are, I'm going to lose my mind. So there's that. I want to talk about that. Then I want to talk about this, because this is Teron Armstead. He was on ESPNU, and he was talking about Tua.
Teron, just looking at the former organization as you left the Miami Dolphins, a lot of what went wrong last year and what's gone wrong over the last half decade has been the injuries that have plagued Tua. Sitting here as an insider, and we're the outsiders, but as an insider, what are some of the things that you can point to as to why Dolphins fans and why NFL fans should have confidence that Tua is the guy for the Miami Dolphins long term?
I wholeheartedly believe in Tua, believe in his ability. I've seen him snap into a mode that looked familiar to me from Drew Brees. That's why I have no problem making that comparison. The consistency of that, him snapping into that like assassin mode, that sniper mode, that's that championship DNA that we want to see more consistently. I believe he can do it. I believe he can. We can keep him upright up front. I think the Dolphins season it comes down to Tua's availability, and if we can get Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips healthy on that defense, I think those two guys healthy with Chop Robinson, it changes the whole dynamic of the team.
So if that were to happen, what are the expectations then for the Dolphins? We're talking playoffs. We're talking completing for the division. What do you see them being able to achieve?
If we can get those three factors, those three guys I named, it's no limit to me. I feel that strongly. It's no.
So how I feel about Tua. I have the positives and the negatives, and at this point, I'm like, he gets hurt again, he's gone, right? Me personally, DouglieDoWrong, Doug, I'm not gonna tell you my last name. As a Dolphin fan, I'm sitting here right now telling you I'm recording this on June 19th at 12:07 a.m. If Tua gets hurt this year, they got to move on from him. You cannot have your starting quarterback year in and year out get hurt. And especially when the team plays so much better with him on the field. You can't have it. Now, obviously, there's other things that, kind of hold Tua back. But to me, the biggest thing is his availability. The best of it, the best ability is your availability. And if Tua gets hurt this year and Tua misses 3 to 4 games in a stint, I'm done. Right? Now, I could still sit here and defend him and say he's not that. And again, go back, watch me talk about Tannehill when we traded Tannehill, or talk about potentially trading Tannehill. I still said he's not a bad quarterback. He could be a viable backup. He can help a team if the situation's right. And I was correct about that with the Tennessee Titans. If Tua gets hurt again, I'm done with him on the Miami Dolphins. They need to move on because it's just not it. Now, do I have a choice in the matter right now? No, because he's the Dolphins starter, and for 2025, he's going to be the Dolphins quarterback. So I'm going to root for him. But if he gets hurt again, I'm done. I'm done. You can timestamp this. You can record it. I'm done. We can't have a guy who consistently gets hurt. That being said, the comparison to Drew Brees isn't something that should be poo-pooed, because a lot of people are poo-pooing it. And I'm noticing that, and I put a tweet out, and I'll pop the tweet up in a second, but I put the tweet out talking about that. But I want you to listen to one more thing. This is Louis Riddick.
Yeah, the Tua and Brees comparison might not be too far-fetched. So far in Tua's career, he has the same exact yards per attempt, touchdown to interception ratio, and completion percentage as Drew Brees did in his career. That's interesting. Wow. Their 68% completion rate is good for top 3 in NFL history among players with at least 1,000 attempts, only behind Joe Burrow. For the Tua haters, that's a good one to throw at him. All right, Louis, what do you make of the Brees comp for Tua?
Yeah, statistically, obviously you see the comparisons right there. But I think with Tua, look, there's a couple things that need to happen for him individually and then Miami as a team. One, individually, look, we all know what it's about with Tua. With Tua, it's about availability. It's about staying on the football field. It's about making better decisions when he's in harm's way, and he's mentioned that. He knows the importance of him staying available for this football team, first and foremost, because if he's available, you know what he can do. The stats bear it out. Now, Miami overall as an organization, what do they need to do for Tua in terms of helping him and helping this football team ascend, so where people just don't zero in on him all the time and blame him for all their shortcomings? It's this. What did Drew Brees have when he was in New Orleans? Yeah. He really had one of the best offensive lines in football, especially when you're talking about the interior. Okay? He had Carl Nicks and Jari Evans, who were two of the baddest dudes that have ever played in the league as far as guards are concerned. Yeah. Well, Miami's tried to fix this offensive line this offseason. An offensive line that was bottom quarter of the league in run block win rate, pass block win rate. They were terrible on third and short. You know why? Because Mike McDaniel didn't want to run the football on third and short. He always had Tua trying to throw the football. So they never were able to really establish an identity that they needed to establish to take some of the pressure off of him. This cannot be a throw it all over the yard type of offense, because eventually it's going to catch up to Tua. Yeah. They better be able to become more diverse like they were in New Orleans under Sean Payton and Drew Brees. And if they can do that, I think Miami will get what they want. It starts up front. It starts with Tua keeping himself healthy, and most importantly, it starts with Mike McDaniel helping Tua out a little bit with a more dominant run game.
What did Louis Riddick say that was incorrect? Honestly, there's nothing he said that's incorrect. And I just said it. If Tua gets hurt, I'm done. And Louis Riddick said the same thing. He has to stay healthy. But on the flip side, you got to help the man out. And the Drew Brees comparison is a legit thing, and people get bothered by it. And I put a tweet out. Let me see if I can find it, because for some reason, but I put a tweet out talking about that. And I'll show it to you right here. Let me make it bigger. I'll use this one, because I did the comparison. Now, let me read the tweet before people, get their panties in a twist, because, you compare Tua to anyone and people get their panties in a twist. I said people getting upset when people compare Tua to Brees, but they are actually similar. Brees didn't win his first playoff game until his 6th season with the Saints. Not saying Tua will. Again, I'm not saying This is what's going to happen. Look at the stats alone. Now, no one is saying Tua will be a Hall of Famer, but their play style is the same. And when you look at their stats, this is the first 5 years of Drew Brees and the first 5 years of Tua Tagovailoa. Tua played more games because Drew Brees did get hurt. They even drafted Phillip Rivers before Drew Brees got hurt. So they already were ready to ship Drew Brees out before he even got hurt. But Tua is better statistically, and they both have 1 Pro Bowls. So they're similar in stats, right? They're similar in play style. Drew Brees wasn't the fastest quarterback. Drew Brees wasn't the tallest quarterback. Drew Brees didn't have a cannon arm. Now, I think Drew Brees' arm is better than Tua's. I think Tua's hip injury really took a toll on his throwing. I made a tweet about that because there was, let's see if I can show it, because am I gonna get copyright claim. But there was a video showing Tua in college, and when I saw that video, I was like, the hip injury severely derailed Tua's career, like 100% derailed Tua's career. It's this right here. Like, you just see the way Tua played in 2018 and his mobility and how he moved and, getting out of the pocket, throwing to the, outer hashes, all this movement and everything, and just look at this and watch this throw here. Like, Tua, we rarely see that now in the NFL. And I think his hip injury, and look at this touchdown run. He's outrunning these guys. Like, when have you seen Tua do this stuff? And I honestly think it's the hip injury. So, but again, getting back to my point, the comparison between Drew Brees and Tua, it's not that far off. Now, am I saying Drew Brees is going to have a Hall of Fame career? No, because there are players who come in and they, whatever, and then you try the comparisons and they're nowhere near it. But to sit here and kind of laugh at the comparison, I don't know. I think they're similar. We'll see how Tua does this year, if he could stay healthy. But I wouldn't be surprised if, the Dolphins move on from Tua next year. He goes to a team and he wins a playoff game because Ryan Tannehill was here, couldn't do anything, concrete feet in the pocket, overthrew his deep passes, started getting better at that. The Dolphins traded him to Tennessee. He had a run game in Derrick Henry. Boom. Gets the number 1 seed, gets a playoff win. It's not the quarterback, it's the organization. I think people need to really realize that. I've heard and read people say Tua has ruined this team. Tua has done this. Tua has done. It's not the quarterback. It's the organization. It doesn't matter what quarterback the Dolphins would have added to this team. They still would have struggled to do the right things. I showed you the Warren Sharp tweets where he was talking about how the Dolphins were the 3rd least in paying for quarterbacks and offensive linemen, and I think the 6th least from that, and the 3rd least in drafting them. The Dolphins didn't care. So if Justin Herbert was here, he would be struggling as well. If Justin Fields was here, he'd be struggling as well. If Jalen Hurts was here, he'd be like, it doesn't matter the quarterback. It matters about the organization and the GM. So I'm telling you, if Tua moves on next year, don't be shocked if he does better. Chris Greer, plain and simple. You're more worried about the offensive line than I am. But comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Tomorrow we are doing the camp position battle running backs, which is going to be interesting. Because Omar Kelly was throwing some stuff out there saying Ollie Gordon might beat out Jalen Wright. So we're going to talk about the running backs tomorrow. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you like what you see. Thumbs up. And I'll see you tomorrow. Like usual, stay classy. Fins out.